got literally, what, 4 counters on CDUB, pretty much.
That you do. We'll wait and see. I mean, if Argus makes this if Argus makes this Medusa work, it's going to be pretty hard to see him not be able to make a Medusa work in any game, really. It's a tough one, to say the least. I suppose for CDUB, though, they have to be a little bit cautious in the sense that they may have spent all their picks just dealing with Medusa. You know, maybe not thinking about RRL's Ember, for example. Maybe not thinking about the offlane SB. We'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. For them, I'm sure they just believe that if they deal with Argus, they should be just fine to carry through their game. Which on paper should be about right. Big rotations here from CDUB down towards the bottom lane. Setting up for a first blood attempt here. They do have a hell of a lot of disable at level 1. Kara might run into them. Vision is there. Kara going underneath that vision. CDUB, are they going to move in? Dust is the one being jumped. Glimpse is going to be onto the Pugna. In goes the Earthsprite from Sanctified, and now Isla shows up from the back, so Kara is probably set to go down. Argus trying to run, but you've got Earthspike in too. Argus might also be taking a hell of a lot of damage here, and he might just be dead. Wand up, it's not going to be enough. Isla's got a double. Perfect start for CDUB. And I think that's something you really wanted to try and avoid for Ravens, but they don't quite get away with it.
No, they get punished hard for testing on the rune. And 2 kills up for the offlane ET. It's going to be quite a fair bit coming out here for Isla. Taking a look at that mid though while we've got the time. Got Mark up against RL on the Ember versus Storm lane. This one's pretty straightforward. Can go either way, as we do see the top lane already finding a kill as well. I mean, they find that kill onto the line once more, so they get some punishment out from Ravens. But the mid, straightforward. You should be able to get some farm on RL. You shouldn't be shoved out here from Mark. RL should have a better time going to the Orb of Corrosion for sure. Into the Phase Boots, a little bit quicker in comparison to Storm, who needs the Falcon and Witchblade. So I do think RL should be fine, but laning-wise, Mark should be able to harass, especially if he manages to look for the Vortex opportunity. Double Overload, not the most fun of times there for the Ember.
It certainly is not. Look at that top lane. That's one lane we haven't really talked about at all. Double King and Duster, of course, against Italiano Gangster and Wake Me Up. It's a pretty strong lane. Like, once you have Decrepify on Duster, obviously very easy spin opportunities happen for Double King once that's up. Perhaps not onto the SB, but more so onto Wake Me Up. So Duster just hits level 2 now, so we'll have to wait to see that combination fly out. But no, unless you get very lucky with the bashes from Italiano Gangster, it should be pretty easy to set up on the Rubik every single time he does just kind of misstep. We'll see if the Rubik of Wake Me Up does make that kind of error in his positioning. I'm sure he's very, very well aware that one Decrepify will probably just mean he's dead.
Yeah, and they're playing pretty safe up top. Probably the more passive lane coming out here out of all 3 lanes. Just looking for even farm. See a little bit of a scuffle over the water runes. Mark is starting to drop very low from trading with RL. RL doing a fantastic job of controlling his mid. Fully topped up. Still has the water rune ready to go. Still has a Tango ready, a Fairy Fire. So he's going to be able to trade with Mark very well. I'm a little bit surprised Mark isn't able to get as much out. But if you do overcommit onto the Ember, you can find yourself in a pretty awkward position on the Storm. So a nice start mid at the very least for Ravens, making up for those kills being bled out. And their lanes are stabilizing a bit. Like, as long as Isla isn't allowed to run up, get a free stomp onto Argus, you're still pretty fine in the lane. Again, Dusa can just stand back, play with a Mystic Snake. It is a lot less aggressive from the side of Ravens, though. Like, you're not going to be looking for really big glimpse back opportunities, but all you really want there is to do some farming, and so far you're starting to get a little bit of that here for Argus.
There you are. Absolutely. Argus, no need to try and get aggressive on the Dusa, that's for sure. The thing is, Isla's going to have some great starts here on the Elder Titan. Like, already considering he got the double kill to start, his farm is pretty free down the bot lane to boot. And there comes a timing with the Aghanim Scepter where you start to get very scared. And just look at this. Isla with the damage output. Plus 135 on Isla. That'll do the trick. Because Argus trying to get as much damage on Isla as he possibly can, but without the Mystic Snake to finish, Isla, he's actually going to turn back around, go after the Medusa, but you've got the snake up. Isla, he's just manning up though. He doesn't mind. Argus, pretty much out of mana, at least does have a clarity available. They'll glimpse back Sanctified, so they might just find themselves a lion, but a great double Earth Spike. Not going to make the difference though. He is still going to drop. Meanwhile, top lane, another team fight breaking out. Double King and Duster both getting extremely low. So there was a bit of a chase onto the Rubik, but Wake Me Up, he's just fine.
Just a little bit hard to commit onto that one. They drop fairly low on CDUB as well, but they've got the healing ward, so just sustain right through in that lane. I will say, you know, when you saw the damage output on Isla, Mike, you know what it reminded me of? That
What's
damage on that ET reminded me of a universal hero type. It's almost like he's one of them, but he needs a spell. Universal hero types, they don't need a spell, Mike. They just need some stats.
That's very, that's true. Does mean that maybe Elder Titan should be a universal hero. You know? Save him the
lore-wise,
button
I would agree. Lore-wise, he should be. But
there you go.
That would probably be busted. I would not want that.
No kidding, John. No kidding. The funny thing is, yesterday when we were casting that mid Darkseid game, you brought up the fact that Darkseid gets 5 damage per level. So I had a brief gander at the techies that was in the same game, and I couldn't help but notice techies got 4.8 damage per level, John.
Yep.
Which was that's a big number as well. It's Kara bottom lane. Well, he's not a big hero right now, John. He's quite a small hero. Meanwhile, Mark in the mid lane is going to go down though, so they get Kara bottom, but they lose their Storm mid. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, this mid lane matchup for Mark has not been panning out. RRL just on top of him, getting that faster 6, having this rotation from Wake Me Up, just commits for the full dive. There's no way to punish him. And again, for the Storm, as we approach the middle mark of the laning phase into the 10-minute mark, it does feel a lot slower for the Storm. You're going to need Falcon Blade, you're going to need Witchblade. RRL just needs his Orb of Corrosion up, which he does have, into the phase boots, and suddenly that Sleight of Fist spam just feels extra painful for any hero. They're trying to get a chase up to Italiano, but
nice charge away though. Yeah, he's all right. It's kind of the reason why maybe they can get him, but he has a Fairy Fire and 1 charges, so chances are the Breaker's going to be fine. It's kind of the reason why you can't really afford to Decrepify spin the Spirit Breaker, because he can usually just charge away. And at least you do force him to a pretty awkward position when it comes to his HP. Doesn't really have any regen to speak of. Speaking of no regen, Mark's in trouble mid lane. He's going to try and just get away with the zip, but RRL is not giving up. The Ember able to get a secondary kill on the Storm. RRL now almost 2 levels ahead of the Storm. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Argus is gone. This Elder Titan is proving to be just so detrimental to Ravens. Zyla, 3-0-3 already on the Elder Titan. This guy is going to be so scary. Yeah,
he's gearing up for what looks to be a quick Echo Saber, so going for the good old double stapler hits early on. You've already got the value point for the mana drain as well from Sanctified, so it's going to feel you are going to see that stomp into mana drain every single time. There's no counterplay. Like, outside of your support trying to stun up the line, there's just nothing you can do on the Dusa there. It's going to be pretty annoying for Argus to kind of have to deal with that. And I think overall, you are finding some good solutions for the Dusa. The trade-off is, again, RRL is pretty much unstoppable right now on the Ember. And your hardest hold for that is the line as well, though.
No, Isla, he does go down this time around. Mid lane. Bit of a fight over the power rune, but the Arcane does go the way of Mark.
Where's the party?
So Mark needs as much as he can get right now. It has been a very tough time for Mark in the mid lane. Still 2 levels ahead of RRL. That's a pretty terrible feeling. So he's just going to relegate himself to the jungle with that Arcane rune he's got. Catch his way up, but it's already looking like it's going to be a pretty damn good game for RRL. And, you know, considering the fact that his Medusa has been countered very badly with the draft, you do require this mid-ember to really pop off this game. Otherwise, you're probably going to have a pretty tough time even contesting CDUB. So they do run right into double supports here. Sanctified and Duster, with Sanctified getting very, very low. Remnants forward here from RRL, and he will use it to try and move in onto Isla, but has no chance to lock him down. So they've got the charge of the Spirit Breaker. So Isla looking to die a secondary time. So they will be able to pick him up. Wake Me Up the one to take it on the Rubik. They are doing quite a bit of work here, just trying to ensure this Elder Titan loses some of the big boosts he got in the earlier game.
Yeah, just ensuring that you can't just fully commit now on the ET. You're trying to get some spacing out for Argus. This is giving a lot of space up top. I think that is of concern. Double King is starting to farm up quite nicely on the Jug, going into the Battle Fury now. So he's using that space very nicely. Just AFK farming as you'd please. Again, Jug, once he has the Battle Fury up, can eclipse the Dusa early on and farm. Like, Argus can still clear out the jungle fairly nicely, but Jug's not going to be too far behind. Rather interesting as well, we mentioned a build-up for Isla. He does opt for the Mask of Madness first instead of the Echo Saber, so he's just going full-on run you down Elder Titan here.
Chains out. Mark does get caught. Be okay to back his way out of there. Still seeing it's 7-6 between these two teams. Looks like they are going to group up bottom lane. Kara will be okay to back his way out, as Isla was trying to rush in. The CDUB looking for the tier 1 bottom tower, it seems. Whether the Ravens want to try and defend is a different story entirely. So I just feel like it's not worth trying. Isla's got the full Husk of Madness up now, so could be a little bit of a problem if he's allowed to run in and just hit people. They go onto that tier 1. No defense to come, it seems. It seems like rather they get the tier 1 mid tower. Ravens will be happy with that tier 1 tower trade. That'll be about it. I suppose if you are CDUB, with this kind of the support you have and the draft you have, you are looking to try and play as aggressively as possible. Both supports are going to go through the Twin Gate. Nice scan out though immediately from Ravens to see this rotation happening. So they understand somebody is by the Twin Gates, at least one. And they're just going to go right back through. So that they're not even sticking around.
Yeah. They've got the numbers here on Ravens if they want to force this issue up top. Both supports kind of standing right behind the Italiano. Wake Me Up already having the spell steal as well, so you can start to make some big plays in the middle of these engagements. Not the safest of times for CDUB to try to force an issue out. Duster does have the life drain up, but it doesn't feel comfy to really life drain offensively here. There's enough control, there's enough durability from the side of Ravens that you're likely just looking to really be a battery for Mark. And, well, Mark needs recovery right now, so he's not going to be joining in anytime soon. Does have the power treads in the Falcon Blade, working towards the Kai Sanj. Still ways up from either one, so a little bit of breathing room coming out here for Ravens to build up on Argus. His jungle's uncontested at the triangle. The stacks are free for him to take. And considering this atrocious start for Dusa, all things considered, not the worst thing in the world right now.
Wake Me Up, top lane, he'll get jumped. Mark gonna zip forward. Wake Me Up is gone. Mark, of course, gonna get the nice little reset here from his Pugna. He's just fine. So a nice little pick up there for the Storm. First kill of the game here for Mark, and it seems like he wants to keep going. Smoke up, they'll go through the Twin Gate down towards the bottom lane. Kara's there right now, and RRL's gonna show up as they are gonna try onto Isla. Limps back, Static Storm being committed. Isla gonna try for the TP, playing the chains don't land. Oh, come on. The chains don't land. I don't know how that misses. Sanctified will go down. But the kill they really wanted, he left the building a long time ago.
Yeah, that's just not fair. Having that bad RNG with like only really 3 things in your range, you go on to the 2 creeps. It's not the best feeling in the world for RL. I mean, you still find a consolation prize in the Lion Kill, but definitely not the biggest one in the world. Charge out to Mark here.
Absolutely, Mark. Oh, both get stunned up. This is not a good start here for CDUB. Life drain just to give Mark a bit of a boost before the CDUB Pugna does leave. And by leave, I mean die. RRL, he's going to remnant forward. Mark's still very low on mana. That's the last bit he had. No more regen left. Italiano Gangster gonna charge him, but gets bashed.
What?
He gets bashed by Roshan. It won't matter. Mark is not getting out. But my God, had Mark gotten out of there, I just wouldn't believe the bad luck of Ravens.
Yeah, that's some Raven-like luck. You know, I hear those birds aren't the luckiest in a lot of superstitions. I don't know, I think Ravens are cool, but that was not a good time. Instant bash by Roche, missing out your chains, off this back-to-back, and CDUB channeling some good luck in there, and although I have to be a little bit cautious of the rundown. 10-7 now, Ravens way. RL, as you've mentioned, you know, he needed to be the one setting the tempo here for Ravens. He is getting that done with his supports quite nicely, and with Italiano joining in. You've got some high mobility cores on the side of Ravens. And the issue for CDUB is, in a vacuum, you know, you could say Ember's counteracted by the Lion to an extent with a Hex, Spirit Breaker as well, counteracted by the Lion, but your Lion is really your only big control to stop that. So there's a lot of pressure on Sanctified to try to stop the Ember and the Spirit Breaker, and it's difficult for you to stop both of them until the blink's up. Even with the blink up, you can only safely Hex one. Getting the Earth Spike on to one of these mobile cores that's left is a little bit trickier. So that is something Ravens is making use of quite nicely. Outside of this Lion, RL has a free time in dancing around, and he'll make use of that every single time.
Let the fun begin.
He will. Bit of a down period here for both sides, it seems. Neither side willing to get too aggressive now. Double King farming a little bit out of control here on the Jug. Top of the net worth board, whereas you look at this Medusa. But Argus is just nowhere near the point he needs to be at the moment. Not very rare you see a Medusa falling this far behind in net worth already, but considering how fast the Jug got his Battle Fury, it's probably going to be the case for the rest of the game now, that the Jug is just going to be always ahead. Again, it does seem like RRL is going to have a lot of pressure to be able to kind of carry this game himself on the Ember, considering the draft they're up against. RRL is keeping up in net worth, at least with the Jug. Does have the Maelstrom up going into, I believe, the S&Y perhaps. He does pick up the Sange. CDUB, obviously looking to get revenge for what happened the other day. Probably heard the interview and weren't happy with the words of Italiano Gangsters. Mid lane, Sanctified, gonna get taken down. Mark's gonna zip in, but he's quite low on mana. Static Storm's gonna lock him in. Italiano Gangsters got the Nether Strike, and the life drain's not enough. It is not enough. Isla, can we land a big stomp? He is trying to get there, but it's pretty hard to land the stomp with the delay it has in the animation. So they won't find any kind of straggler. They will not pick off anyone retreating. That's pretty bad news for CDUB.
It's a big play coming out from Ravens, though. Kara joining in.
Dire are scanning. Radiant are scanning.
Never refuse gold given.
bottom tower is under attack. Dire's top tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under attack.
A gift from the tempest of battle.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Not the fastest in comparison. And Ravens just punish once again. Like it just goes back to the same points. Your Lion is the big hero that needs to be up there for control. Like there's so much pressure to land multiple hero Earth Spikes, so much pressure to land the Hex onto the Ember or the Spirit Breaker, arguably the Ember the bigger target first. And until this Blink for Sanctified, it's just a lot tougher. He does have a Philostone. He's going to have that Blink money soon, and he gets the free Shard up. Because you do have the multi-hero mana drain up now, and could be really big up against that Dusa.
We'll see. Certainly hasn't paid off yet, but maybe with the immunity. Maybe it'll make all the difference. Bottom lane, there's the smoke up here from Ravens, looking to try and find the pick off onto Duster perhaps. They'll find out Isla is there as well, thanks to the Astral Spirit. Isla, gonna be ignored for now. They want Duster first, and they've got Duster. Pugner just going down with no contest. The CDUB do not want to fight at the moment by the looks of it. Ravens moving into the bottom tier 1 tower will take that quite easily. 6k advantage now their way. Argus suddenly really starting to snowball out of control when it comes to the net worth. And CDUB, considering the start they've had for this game 1, like, I don't know if I want to say they've dropped the ball here, John, but it certainly feels like they've dropped the ball a little bit. It could just be a timing issue now with their draft, but I'm just not sure. I feel like this support duo in the offlane of Elder Titan, it hasn't felt like it's paid off for the last 5-10 minutes.
I'd say it's more of the ET. Isla's going full-on right-click build-up, trying to maximize that Astral Spirit debuff immunity, and Elder Titan's a hero you can kite around, even with that debuff immunity. Like, he doesn't really have any mobility spells. I guess you've got some cheeky plays you could do with your Echo Stomp when you get your shard up, so you can swap places and initiate that way, but it's not straightforward for you to just chase down here for Isla, considering all the farm he has on this ET, like Mask of Madness into MKB, going all in, but it's difficult for you to use that. Do have the full blink up and Sanctify at the very least. We'll see if they can kind of leverage that up against Dusa Argus, though, with 2 lives. But how durable he is with a Butterfly, it's not the comfiest times. Like, even Double King is not going to be a straightforward solution with the Omni Slash, just because there's enough evasion here that you're likely not ripping through that EHP of Argus anytime soon. And you're still a ways off from your own full Butterfly here for Double King as well. Not too far out, but it's now Butterfly MKB that's going to be the key time for the drug, which means more time where you need to sit back and farm. And as you sit back and farm, the Dusa just grows bigger and bigger. RRL starts to work into his own scaling on the Ember Spirit as well. And we haven't really even talked about Italiano. Full Ags up with Octarine. So he's got that ridiculous 6-second charge of darkness out. Can just keep going every single time.
That is quick. That is very, very quick. This is a very nice timing here for Italiano. And I see it up like they look a little bit lost here, John. Like, you look at this mid lane, the trio just watching for nothing, really. I'm not sure what they're waiting for here. Maybe protecting that dire triangle a little bit, but perhaps we're expecting a smoke to come in. Never came, though. RL shows up at least now. Maybe they could try and think about going after the Ember, but that's not going to be an easy kill. You'd like to see a little bit more impact with this Lion Blink, but I suppose Ravens have not given them quite an opening for them to try and abuse that. Double King now top lane does need to be a little bit cautious. Won't show himself though, but the tier 2 bottom, top tower rather, is going to go down very quickly. It doesn't really help CDUB that Wake Me Up has the Nether Blast stolen, so it's going to be that much quicker. And there you go, it's just deleted. It takes a couple seconds. Meanwhile, mid lane, RL's just messing around with Isla. He's got the tier 2 tower by himself. It's just gone. They can't defend it.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
They're just dropping the objective. CDUB really respecting how far ahead Ravens are. Really respecting that Aegis timing here as well. So not willing to put themselves into the line of fire just yet. That is just one outer tower left now for the side of CDUB. Ravens, I mean, even Mark's playing a little bit carelessly here.
He's out of mana. Mark is out of mana. I believe that might mean he's as good as dead here. As he will get tipped as he's trying to run his way out. And he's just gone. Ouch. Meanwhile, Argus, he's fighting 4 heroes apparently, John. Argus, he's got the Axe up. In fact, the Aegis up rather. And look at the damage. They just, they can't deal with him. Charges out as well. Double King getting stunned mid-spin TP. Double King, he is going down. No chance of survival.
Oh boy.
Argus with a double kill. And you know what, John? Based off that, the way that this game's going, I guess the interview, it was pretty accurate. They have no problems against this team.
Yeah, it's showing up. CDUB falling flat in execution, like that play by Markdown bot. We already saw Sanctified TP away, and the Storm zips into the wave. I was a little bit surprised by that, because, you know, he saw his line going away from him. Still opts to run in by himself, not respecting that tier 2 TP point, not respecting, again, this global presence you have with Spirit Breaker with the Octarine Ags. And they get punished for it. Age is still up and running for Argus. The middle of these team fights, their positioning on CDUB, not ideal. They're not able to use the mana drain onto the Dusa as well. It's been life drain on Dusa. Like, why would Duster want to life drain? It's literally doing 0 damage. It has to be the Lion. Like, gets the Blink, Earth Spike, stun, maybe Hex up on one of these mobile heroes, and then just try to mana drain in the middle. Maybe you play with a stun from Isley as well, but none of this is lining up. It does take quite a fair bit of execution on CDUB to work this combination, but it just feels like they're not even trying to connect anything right now. Raven's just making CDUB look very lost.
They certainly are. They certainly are. It goes back to what he said, John. He said, just farm. Just farm against his team. They won't know what to do against you, and that's kind of what happened. They had a bad laning stage. They went back, they farmed the jungle, and suddenly they're just ahead again. And here we go. CDUB, they're going to smoke. They're going to try and make something happen. They go the right way down towards the bottom side of the map, but Argus, he is surrounded by friends right now. Plenty of Nakama here, John.
Is under attack.
The CDUB, well, they're trying to move in. Argus, he's going to break the smoke of Viola. Counter smoked out coming out, but immediately broken. So Ravens know they're around. The retreat is going to be there. I say that. Argus moves right into the T2 tower instead, takes that out. And might actually just go right for the high ground. Just come at me. Just, well, what are we waiting for, boys?
Dire's bottom tower
Again, like
is
the
under
high ground defense of CDUB can be pretty damn strong, but they're not in the position right now, considering that they take that smoke to go out.
Oh, Double King. It's a big charge. That is a big, big charge here onto Double King. He's going to try and spin TP his way, but he can't.
Oh,
The Stone Gaze. Stone Gaze was there. They try to help out, but the life drain's not doing enough. RL is just completely going nuts on the Ember. They do stomp him up for a moment. That's about the best they can do to slow him down. But he's just going to walk away from this. Move back in after the Earth Splitter. Isla, he's going to get at least the BKB buff. But is it enough? It doesn't seem like it. Isla's gone. Mark is out of mana. They're trying to help him out, but it's going to be no good here. Just getting shredded. Mark has the BKB just to get to the fountain.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, this is
Dire's
looking pretty over, unfortunately, for CDUB. For our first game of the best of ones. Ravens just, I mean, they've just crushed it. You know, all stemming back to RL on mid. Just the fact that Mark got pretty curb stomped by the Ember, which we expect to be a little bit more of an even matchup, sure, with the Ember having the edge. With Storm in the first 3 levels, it feels like should be able to get a lot more done, and Mark's just not able to do so. RL just outplaying him, getting all of these early rotations on as well. I mean, yeah, the initial fights were good for CDUB, especially around runes. Finding 2 kills on the ET was nice, but going all in on the ET right-click build is also not paying off. And the debuff immunity is great, but it's pretty useless up against something like the Spirit Breaker. You're not able to just stand around there and feel fine with the Ags up and running on Italiano. They only lose 1 Rax. The side of Ravens not going to force the issue too hard. 29-8 with a 23k lead at 31 minutes. So it's a hard game for CDUB to kind of reel back in. They have high ground defense at least. I don't think we've seen any big Omni slashes from Double King outside of that one time where he tried to Omni and went on to the illusions. When this jug into Dusa, again, when you're behind as a jug, it's not the best feeling in the world in that matchup.
It's kind of the thing, though. I don't think they can really use the Omni because they're not really able to fight with the draft that they've got. But they fall behind after the laning stage, and they just haven't been able to be aggressive anymore. It's been a very passive game from CDUB ever since they had a great lane. They've just allowed way too much time for Ravens, and I suppose Ravens are the ones that are kind of making it harder for CDUB in any case, but it's starting to feel impossible after the lanes were over. Which is saying something considering how strong of a start it was. I don't know if I can completely blame Isla either. Like, I agree with you that the Auto Titan offlane hasn't felt the best, but I don't think he has the best support duo to work with in this game. You know, it's just waiting for a blink on this line. I don't think it pays off.
Yeah, I think it's rough going. Like, maybe you could have launched off more from Mark. Like, with the Ags coming out on Mark, this does give you more AoE control. This could be the big opening. It's just that you're likely going to get that Ags lining into Kara's Ags. You'll have that upgraded Static Storm that will mute. It's going to feel pretty awful for any hero to kind of play into. They're setting up for the next Roshan here, Ravens. Respawn still a minute and a half away. So there's some time. CDUB off to try to smoke out into that pit, though.
They're running. Roshan's still a minute 10 away from respawning, but they might find themselves an nice easy pick off on the Kara. Zip is there. Mark sees him. Charge out from Italiano. Going to try and help out this disruptor as the Stomp is going to be up, and Mark is copping so much damage. Argus just ripping him to shreds. Still, they still control Mark up, but the life drain going to give him another chance of life as Ariel in the meantime, juking out the finger damage. And they have got the Lion down. Sanctified is gone. Isla and Dust are both gone a boot. Double King trying to fight, but look at the control. He doesn't even get the Omni off. Ultra kill, and GG is called. They have seen enough. CDUB unable to find the first series victory in this three-way tiebreaker. I mean, how many more counters could you have asked for? Like, this Medusa had the world against her.